Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor. Texas Tech. I
feel for them. I mean, they won, but I feel for them here.
JT Toppin goes to throw just a normal pass that we do in our daily lives. And the Big 12 showed once again its officiating crews are putrid in basketball. The marquee sport of this conference, where it's made its bed as the headliner of this league for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And still, the guys in the stripes are ruining a product that could be a national display of what this conference is. He gets, and for those who didn't see it, he is thrown out of the game for jumping into the air, throwing a pass. In that jump, his leg extends as one would to throw forward, and it grazes I think the play-by-play guy said nether region of a defender.
Place you don't want it to hit, yeah.
The officials inconspicuously give him a flagrant 2. Like, don't tell anybody. The PA guy has to say it for Grant McCaslin and JT Toppin to find out. They don't know.
Toppin's like on the court. Yeah, he's ready to go.
Waiting to play. And the PA guy's like, flagrant 2 foul assessed Toppin, and it's 2 free throws, and he's ejected from the game. And the Houston crowd goes wild, as they would. It's a home crowd.
Yeah.
Then Grant McCaslin watches it live on an iPad, and all he does is throw his hands in the air, say he was passing the ball. The quote is, he was passing the ball. They eject him. They eject Toppin. And it's like the officiating crew pulled all of their pleated pants down and exposed their very small, bony, gross rear ends to America once again.
Hank Hill would be the comp there on the rear end. It's so awful, dude. And I didn't even see this until after the fact because of that great Baylor Kansas game, biggest blown lead in Kansas basketball history. Don't know if you know that. And I was actually saying on the post game, I was like, man, you don't hear this often enough, but this was a really well officiated game because we had a bad one the game before against BYU. Both teams were complaining about it. It's terrible. King McClure was ripping them in the way that you actually can on ESPN. And then I see this call and I'm like, what? It's Charles Barkley. Not Charles Barkley, Mark Jackson. What happened to the game I love? Charles Barkley probably said it too. But like, seriously, what happened to this? The guy is jumping up in the air because he's kind of rearing back with the pass. We've all done this. And it just happens to hit the guy in cojones, man. It's not comfortable, but that's not even a foul to me. Yeah. And under these new rules, like flagrant 1, I guess, but like that and like the landing spot foul in the NBA, I think is so stupid. And it becomes like a big deal in the NBA. It's a technical, and it's apparently a double technical and an ejection. And honestly, Grant McCaslin was way more measured than I thought he would be. Like even the second go around where he's flailing his arms in the air, like you have to, and this is where it sucks, is downward slope. McCaslin has to get ejected for that. He has to rip him 10 ways to Sunday until he gets ejected for it. But it's also a minute into the game, 2 minutes into the game,
9-8 is the score.
Are you kidding me? This is one of the most anticipated games in the conference this season.
I want to pause you there too. The announcers were replaying the shot because the pass is a successful assist. The announcers are replaying the shot and going, this is what Tech does. How beautiful is this? And then, wait, what? They've ejected Toppin? No one knew what was happening.
It's such a bad mark on our league, honestly. Yeah. And what's crazy to me is we're starting to see it every year in games of this caliber, right? We know about the Fog Allen whistle. We see that every year a couple of times. A game like this last year, this year with Houston and Tech. Last year, that Baylor-Iowa State game where Scott True gets ejected, and it becomes a complete ref show, and like nobody knows what's going on. Like it's happening in high-profile games. And I'll go back to that Baylor BYU game last week just to kind of go off that point of like, it was such a good basketball game, man. Shot making ability was incredible. It goes into overtime. Everything with a hallmark of a good game, except that the refs really sucked for both teams. Yeah. And at one point, there's kind of this ticky-tack foul on, I think it was Norchad Omier, and Mike Monaco is on the call with King McClure, obviously a Baylor guy, so Big 12 has played in it for years. And Monaco asks, like, King, is that a foul there? And he goes, not in this conference, it's not, but it was called one. And it just takes away from a great game. Fortunately for Tech, they somehow battle through it without McCaslin and Toppin and get a humongous win. But that is such a bad mark on our conference. And you don't hear that kind of complaints about the SEC this year in basketball. And maybe that's going to be a difference in the narrative.
Credit to, and hopefully in tournament play, the officiating's a little bit better, but college basketball across the board seems to be kind of tough right now. Credit to Texas Tech Radio Network, everyone with the Red Raiders, as well as Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech, had this to say while on color commentary on the radio during the game.
Barry McCaslin has run back out there to have one final word for his team.
And what he's saying, what Grant was saying, is he's passing the ball. And to be clear, we have not. Yeah, the officiating in this conference is poor. It is very poor. I don't understand that there's no excuse for ejecting a player and throwing out a head coach 2 minutes into a massive game like this because the officials can't handle the pressure. And I mean, how many times have we gotten to Lubbock and you don't have any kind of home court advantage and they've just bowed down to Houston here? Embarrassing by Brett Smith and this crew to let it get out of hand and let their emotions take over when JT Toppin was basically passing the ball.
Okay. Yeah. Tugler missed. Pryor's going to.
Love Haxton right there. Okay.
All right. And I agree with Level. The officiating is poor.
We can't find Chris Level. I only hope that he'll be on the Big 12 squad this Thursday. Cam, before we wrap, Baylor has seen, before we go into, I should say, the hottest teams in the Big 12 in basketball, Baylor has seen this. We had, I guess, a year or two ago, Mac Rhodes comes to the podium post-game and says, we're upset with the officiating crew. He's fined $25,000. Kirby Hocutt released a statement saying that this was, borderline appalling. I just don't know when there's accountability. Like these guys can do their job poorly without fear of reprimand.
Yeah, and that's what sucks. It's a problem across all sports, right? Is there's just no accountability to these officials, whether it be umpires or referees or what have you. But it's also a thing where you got to look up at the top. You got to look at your Mark's office to this one and just say, hey, you brought in schools that came in to be basketball competitors. You have said that you want to be the best basketball conference in America. And literally that is how we are somewhat winning is the Big 12. Like we all know we have a good football product out there, but it's not going to be the SEC. It's not going to be the Big 10, but we can have a pretty damn good football product and have the best basketball product. This is taking from that. It sucks. It sucks. And any team, any fan of any team that's watching this right now, it. Like every 2 or 3 games, you're like, that really sucks to watch because of the officials, and that really hindered the game. And in some way, it might lose you the game at the end of one. It might take your best player out in the first 2 minutes, or it might just be like, we had a chance if we didn't just have this keep happening to us. But all the Big 12 fans have experienced it.
Yeah. Luckily, Tech won the game. Not even luckily against Houston, but against the officiating crew of that one.
The ball didn't lie.
Yeah. No. Coming up, Texas Tech, BYU, maybe Baylor. Who is the hottest team in the Big 12 right now in basketball? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.